What's up, Lakers Nation? Today we've got a story you won't want to miss. LeBron James just dropped the name of the toughest defender he's ever squared off against. And it might surprise you, you already know LeBron is one of the greatest scorers in NBA history. He's piled up more than 42,000 points over his career, a mark no other player has ever reached. But even the king has had his struggles when locked up by someone with defensive prowess that could rival his offensive mastery. It all came out on a recent episode of the Mind the Game podcast, where LeBron was asked to reflect on the defenders who gave him the most trouble. Throughout his epic run in the league, he didn't hesitate for long before pointing to one name: Ron Artest, better known today as Metta World Peace. Picture this: a fresh-faced LeBron, 18 years old and just landed in the NBA. Straight out of high school, stepping onto the court for the very first time, nerves buzzing and expectations sky high. Across from him stood Artest, a guy with the hands of a magician and the build of a tank, lateral quickness that could mirror any dribble move, and strength that made driving to the basket feel like pushing through a brick wall. LeBron described that early matchup vividly. He remembered thinking, this is what the league is about. This is the real test. It wasn't just Artest's physicality, it was his basketball IQ and relentless energy. Every inch you tried to create, he seemed to anticipate, his hands flying to poke the ball away or jar LeBron off balance just enough to disrupt his rhythm. It was a baptism by fire for the rookie. One game, one opponent, and suddenly the heads-up game of Oni and Own was on an entirely different level. What makes Artest's legacy even more intriguing is how he evolved over time. From his days in Indiana, where he first honed that suffocating defense, to his championship run in Los Angeles alongside Kobe Bryant, he was known not only for his tenacity, but for that unpredictable edge, getting into opponents' heads as much as getting into passing lanes. LeBron admitted that facing Ron as a young pro was more than just another contest. It was an introduction to the kind of mental and physical warfare that defines championship basketball. Fast forward to today, and Metta World Peace is making headlines off the court, rumored to be in the mix for the New York Knicks head coaching gig. His reputation for toughness on defense seems to be carrying over to his coaching aspiration. People talk about his nonsense attitude, the kind of relentlessness he brought as a player. When he heard that LeBron had publicly named him the toughest defender ever, World Peace took to Instagram to share his reaction, and you could practically feel his grin through the screen. He gave a shout out to LeBron, recognizing mutual respect between two fierce competitors. "Shout out to the king for recognizing my competitiveness," he said, reminding everyone that while he always played with an edge, it was never about disrespect. It was always about rising to the challenge. That clip of Metta celebrating LeBron's compliment is a reminder of what made their duel back in the day so special. It wasn't just brute force, it was a chess match played in real time. LeBron talked about how even when he wasn't able to blow past World Peace with a quick first step, he'd learned to adapt, using hesitation, changing speeds, finding angles. That early battle shaped him, forcing him to expand his offensive arsenal, to become not only stronger and faster, but smarter on the court. Think about it: an 18-year-old kid with a target on his back, thrust into the glare of the NBA spotlight, going toe-to-toe with a future Hall of Famer who was already 5 years his senior. That level of testing right out of the gates could have overwhelmed someone less determined. Instead, LeBron embraced it. He said, "I love this. This is awesome." And that mentality, seeking out the hardest challenges, welcoming the toughest matchups, it's been a through line in his career ever since. Over 17 seasons in the league, Metta World Peace earned respect not just for making a name as an all-defensive caliber player, but for his willingness to engage in the dirtiest work, diving for loose balls, taking charges, setting banairing screens, and locking down superstars without flinching. Of course, there were controversies along the way: Memphis 0-1, the Malice in the Palace, and even that infamous incident that left Michael Jordan nursing a broken rib. But those moments, as much as anything, underscore just how fiercely he competed. Even his critics had to admit you didn't want to be on the receiving end of his defense. Now, years removed from his playing days, Metta's influence still resonates. Young defenders study his footwork, coaches reference his intensity when preaching the value of toughness. And LeBron, now a seasoned veteran and teammate to countless all-stars, still points back to that first clash with Ron Artest as the moment he got his early reality check. It shaped the player he would become: a superstar who could adapt, who thrived under pressure, who respected that defense is every bit as important as offense. So next time you see LeBron ease into his patented stride or rise up for a turnaround jumper, remember that it wasn't always that smooth. He earned that signature elegance by battling through challenges like the one Metta World Peace laid before him. And as Lakers fans, we get the privilege of witnessing a career forged by fire, tempered by tests, and driven by the constant pursuit of greatness, one defender at a time. Let's pick up right where we left off, diving deeper into how that early encounter with Ron Artest not only tested LeBron James's mettle, but also sowed the seeds for the fierce competitor and two-way superstar he's become. After that first taste of Artest's physicality and mental gamesmanship, LeBron began to approach each practice and game with a new level of focus on defense, a side of his game that had been overshadowed by his prodigious scoring ability. He told teammates and coaches that he wanted to master the fundamentals of on-ball defense, footwork, hand placement, and anticipation in order to appreciate and eventually overcome the kind of tenacious pressure he'd felt that night in Indiana. As the seasons went by, you could see the transformation unfold on the court. Suddenly, LeBron was taking charges in crunch time, rotating to contest shots, and using his length to clog driving lanes in ways that mirrored some of the league's top lockdown defenders. He began studying film of elite stoppers, players like Kawhi Leonard, Tony Allen, and Draymond Green, analyzing not just their physical tactics, but their mental approach. He learned how they used subtle head fakes, baited dribble moves, and timed their leaps to perfection. All these lessons were filtered through the lens of that baptism under Artest's suffocating grip, reminding him that great defense is often a matter of inches and split-second decisions. Off the court, LeBron embraced defensive drills with newfound zeal. He challenged practice squads to guard him full court and insisted on simulating high-pressure situations where he had to defend quicker guards or stronger forwards. Coaches quickly realized that his commitment was genuine. This was not some publicity stunt, but the hunger of a champion determined to become a complete player. By the time he arrived in Cleveland for his second stint, his defensive reputation had grown so much that opponents routinely schemed to avoid isolating on his side of the floor. Meanwhile, Metta World Peace's journey took its own twists. After hanging up his sneakers, he immersed himself in coaching clinics and mentorship roles, sharing the secrets of his defensive craft with young players hungry to learn. Stories circulated of him staying late in gym parking lots, breaking down footwork on his own, or teaching the importance of talking defense, communicating switches, calls, and help rotations to keep the entire unit locked in. He became a cult figure at summer camps where parents would record their kids trying to mimic his famous hands-up, don't shoot stance, complete with that intimidating glare that once unnerved even the most confident scorers. Fast forward to the present day, news outlets have linked him to the vacant New York Knicks head coach position, pointing to his ability to instill toughness and accountability in locker rooms that need a cultural reset. It's almost poetic that the same man who once made LeBron's rookie season feel like a crash course in defensive warfare is now being considered to lead a franchise known for its blue-collar identity, and LeBron's shout-out has only amplified the narrative as fans and analysts debate whether world peace can translate his on-court grit into a coaching philosophy that resonates with today's players. On the Lakers' end, that early crucible against Artest has rippled through multiple championship runs. Teammates like Anthony Davis and Kawhi Leonard have often credited LeBron's defensive leadership as a key factor in closing out tight playoff series. Game after game, LeBron's ability to switch onto smaller guards or front larger post players without hesitation has forced coaches to rethink traditional position matchups. Analysts point to pivotal moments: the block on Chris Paul in the Western Conference Finals, the chase down stops on Kyrie Irving that have roots in the same defensive mindset he first cultivated when facing Artest. It's also fascinating to consider how this emphasis on defense has shaped LeBron's longevity. As he's entered his late 30s, his training regimen has adapted to preserve his body, but the mental side of defense remains razor sharp. He still studies tendencies, whether it's recognizing a ball hawk's preferred hand or anticipating a cutter's angle. That level of detail comes from an appreciation of defense as an art form, one that he respects as much as the craft of scoring. Back in New York, Metta World Peace has begun to share that same philosophy at coaching clinics, preaching the virtues of defensive intensity and competitive mindset as the bedrock of team success. Former Knicks players who have attended his talks describe him as both motivational and brutally honest, a combination that can be jarring but ultimately inspiring. His message is simple: championships are won by the teams that refuse to yield, whether it's on the scoreboard or in your opponent's psyche. As the league continues to evolve, stretch bigs who shoot threes, positionless lineups, and pace and space offenses, you can't help but wonder how the lessons from that first LeBron-Artest matchup will echo into the future. Will world peace instill a new generation of defenders Who blend physicality with finesse? Will LeBron's defensive pedigree influence how star players view their responsibilities? At both ends of the floor already we see rising talents like Jalen Brunson and Tyrese Halliburton citing the importance of defensive IQ, alongside shooting drills, a sign that the next wave of superstars may be forged in the same crucible that once pitted a wide-eyed teenager against one of the league's fiercest competitors. This dynamic tension between offense and defense, between the unstoppable force of a scoring machine and the immovable object of a lockdown specialist, is part of what makes basketball endlessly compelling and highlighting meta world peace. As the prodigy of defensive excellence, LeBron James not only paid homage to a rival, but also affirmed that greatness demands balance. He reminded us all that while points win games, stops create championship legacies, and that sometimes the toughest lessons come from the very opponents we most admire. Before we continue, we ask that you leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss any exclusive Lakers updates. Moving on, in a move that's sending shockwaves through NBA circles, whispers are growing louder that the Los Angeles Lakers may be preparing a blockbuster acquisition, none other than Cleveland Cavaliers star point guard Darius Garland. While nothing has been confirmed, multiple league insiders have hinted that conversations have taken place behind closed doors, and fans are already speculating what such a move could mean for the Lakers' championship aspiration. Sources close to the situation suggest that the Lakers front office, eager to reshape the roster around LeBron James and Anthony Davis, sees Garland as the ideal floor general to inject youth scoring and playmaking into a backcourt that's lacked consistency. Garland, a former All-Star and one of the most skilled young guards in the league, reportedly could be open to a change of scenery following a challenging season in Cleveland, marked by internal shifts and unmet expectations. Adding fuel to the fire, Garland's agent Rich Paul, who also represents LeBron James, has been unusually visible in Lakers-rated settings over the past few weeks. Although this could simply be a coincidence in the NBA rumor mill, few things happen without meaning. Some believe Paul may be subtly laying the groundwork for a potential deal, leveraging his close ties with Lakers management to facilitate the move. Still, acquiring Garland wouldn't come cheap. Speculation suggests a package involving young assets, draft capital, or even a high-profile name could be necessary to sway Cleveland's front office, who remain committed to building around a competitive core. But if the Lakers truly believe Garland is the missing piece to elevate them back into title contention, they might be willing to pay the price. As always in the NBA, where smoke rises, fire often follows, whether this ends in a trade or fizzles into another summer headline. One thing is certain: the Lakers are far from done making noise. Stay informed exclusively about Los Angeles Lakers news, subscribe to our channel, and hit the like button to keep receiving daily updates. Also share your opinion on the news in the comments, as your contribution is crucial for the Lakers. Stay tuned for the next video.